Hello, and welcome back to the Power Exchange, where we explore technologies, mindsets, and partnerships powering the energy transition across the Middle East. I'm Noura Abdelmoneim, and today we're shining a light, quite literally, on one of the most impactful energy efficiency levers cities can deploy, which is demand-side management, through the lens of smart street lighting. Joining us is Lukasz Wiecek, General Manager of Nojoom, one of our joint ventures that specializes in smart lighting and urban energy services in Abu Dhabi. Lukasz and his team are leading one of the largest and most innovative lighting transformations programs in the region, improving efficiency, safety, and sustainability across the city.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Nora. Thank you for having me in your podcast.
So, Lukasz, to start off, for the listeners who are new to this term, what is demand-side management?
Yes, thank you for this question. I think that to answer it properly, you have to look wide at the whole ecosystem of energy power systems and the whole value chain of power utility, just like, for example, EDF. So what do we do at EDF? We decarbonize across the value chain. So if you think about it, you can divide power systems into three pillars, you might say. The first one is the generation, where we are trying to generate clean energy from renewable and nuclear resources, primarily at EDF. Then we need to think about how we transport, how we deliver this energy to the final user, which is about distribution and transmission lines that we also do very well at EDF. And the final last pillar of this equation, of this ecosystem, is the demand side of the X, which is basically about how we consume energy, how we make it smart, how we make it efficient, how we make it complete from the whole ecosystem perspective. So demand side management is attempting to manage this last bit, the third pillar of the whole ecosystem, to make the whole system sustainable and balanced, I would say.
We often hear that DSM is about using less energy. Why does DSM matter so much, and why is it so critical as part of the energy system?
So the beauty of energy system is that it needs to be balanced like nature, right? It's a very natural system. It's almost the same. So you have those three pillars, and you have to treat them appropriately all the time. So you cannot just build a lot of renewable resources without considering how you are going to distribute this power and how this power will be consumed in the end by the end users, right? Because this will create an imbalance. You have to account for different flexibility systems, you have to account for transmission systems, you have to account for efficiency across the value chain. So demand side management is trying to stabilize the system, is trying to achieve this efficiency, so you do not have to build another generation unit. It just allows you to be efficient on this one. You might think that demand side management is responding to so-called leaky buckets problem of energy systems. If you imagine an energy system as a bucket into which you're trying to pour water to make it full, to make it complete, to make it enough, you're pouring this beautiful, clean energy from different sources, but your bucket is leaky. It has different types of leakages. You have transmission losses, you have inefficiencies in consumption, you have inefficiencies in different installations like AC devices. So you need to make it tight, because otherwise it's just gonna leak out, right? So what we are trying to do with demand side management is we are a duct tape of this leaky bucket. We're making the bucket tight to make it right, okay? And then the last analogy that you can think of, it's like you building a house. If you build a house and you spend millions of dollars on that beautiful house, you put PV panels on top of the roof, you make sure that the walls are right and tight. You move in to that house, but you forgot to put the windows. You know, this is basically what happens when you don't look at the whole ecosystem as a general mission, basically, to make it right.
And hearing how important it is and why it matters so much, why is it such an important piece of the sustainability puzzle for cities?
Cities are at the forefront of our efforts because of demographics, because of urbanization ratios. As of today, already 50% of global population of people live in cities. This urbanization ratio is going to increase to 70% by 2030, which basically means that the power consumption is concentrated with cities. around 66, which is 2/3 of the total power consumption already today is consumed in cities. And that is why we just focus our attention on cities, because this is the lowest hanging fruit. This is where we should start our journey.
People don't usually think of street lighting as the first thing when they think of DSM, but it plays a huge role. We've seen that. So why shall we start with street lighting within the cities?
So the street lighting within the cities plays a huge role because around 30 to 50% of the electricity bill of the city is basically coming from street lights. This is the main source. Again, we concentrate on cities because they consume the most energy, and then we should start to focus on the street lighting within the city.
Nojoom has been active in transforming Abu Dhabi's lighting scene and lighting network. Can you walk us through what's been achieved?
We are very proud of being part of Nojoom and part of this project. The project has been a success, has been very challenging, but we made it. We made it on time, we made it within budget, we made it in partnership with local municipality and communities, which have supported us tremendously. Our main achievements are basically three or fourfold, you can categorize them. The first one is the energy efficiency. We have replaced around 133,000 light points into energy efficient, remotely controlled smart points, IoT devices, I would say, in which we have saved around 75 to 80% of electricity. So depending on the location, on the highways versus residential areas, we have different energy savings because of the requirements. Obviously, you need to light up the highways in a more proper way, so you have less savings. But in general, the ratio is impressive, right? So one is energy savings. The second one is the monetary benefits that basically are following those savings. Obviously, you might imagine that if you pay 100 for electricity, you decrease this bill by 75% because this is exactly your saving. So you start to pay 250 instead of 1,000, which is very tempting business proposal. What it means for that project is that from those energy savings, you are able to repay the infrastructure improvement that you just made. This is a very attractive proposition for cities who can get their infrastructure replaced effectively for free from those savings. So this is number two. And number three is, of course, the environmental benefit that we all of us care about very much. Over the duration of the project, we will be saving around 1.3 million tons of CO2. Which is quite a lot. I know it might be quite an abstract number. So just to give you an example, what it means, 1.3 million tons is like 280,000 cars removed from streets for 1 year. If you take those cars bumper to bumper in one line, they will create a line of 1,400 kilometers, basically a distance between Riyadh and Abu Dhabi, for example. So that's huge, right? It's just like planting 1.5 million trees and then growing them for 10 years. So imagine the forest 3 times the size of Dubai, or 65,000 households powered for 1 year. So the city more or less in the size of Al Ain. So this is what we have achieved. And as I say, what we've also achieved is like a little bit change of mindset, a little bit change of how municipalities, how we approach partnerships in the region for such projects, right?
Yeah.
We are not a contractor, we are not coming to sell anything. We are becoming a long-term partner for the municipality. And they just give back. They feel that we are here to support, and we are supporting each other to make it possible, to make it happen. And that's really the biggest beauty of the project.
But what is the biggest misconception that you've heard about DSM or even street lighting?
There are a couple of misconceptions. I had this misconception myself. Before I came to do the project, I thought it would be very easy. So it's a simplicity misconception. The project is not about replacing light bulbs, right? As some people might think. It's basically about building a sustainable infrastructure for the city. It is about replacing luminaires into LED technology primarily, but on top of this, we are installing a lot of perfectly distributed IoT devices across the city that are making the city future-proof for application of different other innovative solutions. So that was the first misconception. Another one is that people think that if something is cheaper or more efficient, you have to compromise on safety or comfort. It's not the case, actually. This is another misconception. we do make a savings of 75 to 80%. We are increasing the safety of road users. We are increasing the quality of the lighting. We are increasing the attractiveness of the city. So there are only benefits. It's just a no-brainer to do.
And what makes this project particularly innovative or unique in this region?
So the innovation part of this project, which is, by the way, another misconception, how could this project be innovative? It is very innovative, as much as it is very complex. But you might think of three ways to categorize this innovation. First one is the innovation of the project management and innovation of the project structure by itself. This is a public and private partnership project with quite a complex structure, quite a complex stakeholder management requirement. We have lots of parties engaged in the project, clients, multiple shareholders, advisors, lenders. The structure is very complex, but it's worth it because client is receiving one point of touch. We are coordinating like everything from design to procurement, logistics, IT services, like everything around the project. You might say it's a turnkey project in a way for them, no? But we are there to stay for 10 years to maintain those assets, right?
Yeah.
So we are becoming a long-term partner, and they appreciate it. The second part of the innovation, I would say, is the innovation around the smart infrastructure that we are creating by doing this project. So we are installing a perfectly distributed system of IoT devices across the city. It is core areas, which is like the main roads, main arteries of the city. And that is, I would say, a creation of the backbone of the innovation for the city. Because on top of those devices, or around those devices, you could be creating, an ecosystem of sensors to measure the levels of noise, to measure the levels of air pollution, all different types of, traffic response systems. So the city is starting to think by itself. It's starting to react in a customized way in different parts of the city. Depending on the demands of that city, right? Different sorts of adaptive lighting that are changing along with the traffic in a specific street. Dim the lights up or down depending on the needs. You could imagine dimming the lights up around schools, right? When kids are leaving schools or were going to schools. And the third thing is the innovation around the street lighting itself and the operations around street lighting. So in terms of street lighting, you have to imagine we are gathering enormous amount of data about consumption of power, different variability of power quality in different areas that basically allow us to fine-tune our operations and maintenance practices. Even we are thinking about applying AI to create like form of digital twin of the infrastructure to be able to do a better job in preventive or predictive maintenance. This is a never-ending story. We can have another podcast just on that subject.
If you had to say it in one sentence, the value of DSM, how would you say it?
In one sentence, what is DSM? I would say that DSM, demand side management, is the best power plant in the world. Because this is the one you do not have to build. And I think that it's important to understand because, just to give you an example, by doing and completing the Abu Dhabi project, we have prevented a construction of a solar power plant of around 150 megawatts, right? Which costs probably more than 100 million euros. So really, how we do it, how we manage our demand, will have an impact on the whole ecosystem and on the efficiency of the system.
Yeah. And before we close, what message would you like to share with the stakeholders, with the city leaders that are thinking about DSM for lighting and transformation, or just DSM in general?
I guess like two messages.
Okay.
One message is that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, right?
Yeah.
That step for us was taken, on the 7th of December 2023. I remember that day. You have to make it happen. You have to take this first step. Go for it. And the second message, like, do not build your house without windows. Just think of DSM and think about it already today.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Lukasz.
Thank you. Thank you.
Today's conversation reminds us that sometimes the most transformative innovations are the ones we pass every day. Like the lights above our streets, and optimizing them can have an incredible impact on energy, sustainability, and urban life. This has been the Power Exchange. Stay tuned for our next episode as we continue illuminating the future of energy in the Middle East.